Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We are looking at a genuinely fascinating concept today that treats language like a literal software upgrade for the human mind. Most of us just think of language as, a series of arbitrary labels we invented to point at stuff. But this source material asks a pretty wild question. What if it's not? What if language is actually an executable mathematical code? We're going to unpack this code reader utility today and see how it might completely revolutionize how you interact with the spoken and written word. Right out of the gate, the framework poses a profound question. Are you just passively experiencing reality, kind of like a passenger on a random rock hurtling through space? Or are you actively writing it? Because if language really is code, then speaking and thinking are literal acts of programming. So the whole goal of our session today is to explore this shift, moving from being a passive consumer of a confusing reality to becoming an active, conscious author of the text. To actually make this shift, there's a specific workspace we need to look at. It's called the Code Reader Utility. You can access this required workspace right now at meaning-unconfounded.github.io. Or, honestly, just scan the QR code on screen to pull it up. You're definitely going to want to bookmark it because this site acts as the essential patch required to access the underlying semantic code of reality. We'll be using the tools from this site throughout our explainer.
Here is the roadmap for our upgrade today. We'll start with the frozen language bug, boot up your code reader utility, check out the 3D consonant atlas, look at position algorithm auditing, apply the structure test, and finally, return to active authorship.
Let's jump straight into Section 1, the frozen language bug, and identifying the verb illusion.
So, we've all been taught that verbs are just action words, right? Well, this framework argues something totally different. Structurally, it suggests verbs actually act as an exclusion mechanism. They take the original multidimensional code of reality and compress it into these flat, inert labels. By hiding the actual existence claim inside a fast-moving action, verbs create what's known as the verb illusion. They generate frozen language. Essentially, things that really should be examined are smuggled right past your critical thinking because they're disguised as simple actions. It's an absolutely brilliant way to look at how we get confused.
Moving on to Section 2, your code reader utility, or the 3D printer of reality.
Now this is where it gets incredibly cool. The core hardware you need to fix this bug is something you already have. Your mouth is quite literally a 3D printer for reality. The consonants you speak, they aren't just random sounds humans made up a long time ago. They are executable mathematical code. It sounds wild, I know, but try this with me right now. Close your lips and hum an M sound. Do you feel that? You are physically enclosing space, you're trapping energy and letting it resonate. In real time, you are geometrically constructing the feeling of material substance. Your physical actions are compiling the meaning.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 3D consonant atlas, decoding the fundamental particles.
This shows just how deep this code actually goes. If you look at the reference atlas on the site, every single consonant carries meaning across 3 distinct layers simultaneously. First, you have the individual identity of the letter. Second is the articulation point, meaning exactly where in your mouth the sound is geometrically formed, like your lips versus the roof of your mouth. And third is the manner of production, how the air is actually being manipulated. Is it stopped? Is it flowing, radiating? These 3 layers instantly converge to create objective, structural meaning.
Let's grab a few specific examples from the atlas to really lock this in. We already did M, which is material substance. Now say B. Your lips close, they build pressure, and they release. Boom. You just physically created and broke a bounded space. Think of words like box, body, barn. Now say T. Your tongue literally stops the air at the roof of your mouth. It acts as a mark, a crossing, a seal. And what about R? Your tongue vibrates, emitting this ongoing outward wave. Think radiate, river, run. In this framework, consonants are structural expressions of physical reality. No exceptions.
All right, Section 4, position algorithm auditing. Let's look at the sequence of the code.
So we have our particles defined, but now we have to audit the sequence. Take the letter N, for instance. Geometrically, air is flowing continuously through your nose, so N fundamentally means continuation. But watch how its operational function completely transforms depending on where it sits in a word. At the start, it either blocks the flow entirely, like not or never, or it initiates it, like name or now. If it's in the middle, it signifies a continuation in process, like running or maintain. And at the end, that continuation arrives at completion. Done. Born. Won. It's mind-blowing, right?
Position literally equals function. And this positional awareness even decodes the temporal direction of an action. Let me show you what I mean. Look at T-ending words like thought and night. Because T, as we learned, is a seal, these are completed sealed states. The action is entirely finished. But compare that with R-ending words like power and clear. Because R is radiating, these are ongoing outward emissions. The temporal direction, whether something is completely over or still happening, is mathematically encoded right into the final consonant.
Let's put this into practice in Section 5, applying the structure test to destroy the verb illusion.
So how do we actually fix this bug? The core formula here converts verb-dominated phrases, which we know hide realities, into noun primary expressions. By forcing the action to become a physical thing again, a noun, you drag all those hidden actors, conditions, and sources straight out of the shadows. This is exactly how you structurally audit a document for absolute truth. Let's do an actual translation together. Imagine a standard confounded sentence like, "The law protects your rights." Sounds totally normal, doesn't it? But that verb protects is doing a lot of hiding. When we apply the structure test, it expands to, for your rights, the protection by the law with the condition of X from the Constitution. See what just happened? The structure test explicitly forces those hidden conditions to the surface. We suddenly realize the protection isn't just magic, it requires specific conditions that the original frozen sentence completely obscured.
To rebuild these sentences properly without losing meaning, the framework uses these 5 relationship operators. Of defines the source, for defines the recipient or purpose, by identifies the agent, with forces you to state the condition, and from establishes the origin. Whether you are auditing legal contracts, a news article, or even just checking your own internal thoughts, mapping concepts using these exact 5 operators guarantees iterational coherency. It makes it impossible to hide behind a verb.
And that leads us to our final section, number 6, return to active authorship, the egress.
What you're looking at here is the comprehension stack. Think of it as a systematic protocol to analyze the semantic depth of pretty much anything. You start at the particle level, decode the consonant architecture. Then zoom out and analyze positional dynamics, like our n-position algorithm. Audit the space. Are they talking about the specific thing or just a random thing? Apply the structure test to shatter that verb illusion. From there, you easily identify the hidden decisions, and finally, you map the underlying value field. It is literally a microscope for truth.
And this lands us back at the most profound realization of this entire framework. When you unconfound the word using these tools, something amazing happens. You stop simply talking about reality. You realize your mouth is a 3D printer and your words are structural code. You step right out of that passenger seat. You start speaking reality into being. You become a local author of the universal text.
System upgrade complete. It's a lot to process, but it's an incredible framework. If you want to dive in and test this code reader yourself, you need to head over to the required workspace. Go to meaning-unconfounded.github.io, or just grab your phone and scan the QR code on the screen right now to master the consonant atlas and apply the structure test for yourself. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you actually hold this code reader utility in your mind, what reality will you write next?